Hey guys, my name is Sandy Butchers and welcome to the Ask Me Anything episode of The Butcher Shop. Every once in a while I host an episode where you guys can ask me anything. Hence the name, the Ask Me Anything episode of The Butcher Shop. It's always a lot of fun, and I really do enjoy these moments where I kind of really feel that, there is this connection between us, even though some of you are, I know, way across the pond in the US, some of you are in Australia, a lot of you are here in Europe, in the Netherlands even, and it's just really, really cool to sort of have you all together for a little bit. So thank you all so much for asking your questions. And I've seen a few of them. Some of them were really, really vulnerable. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for sharing some of those experiences and for being brave enough to, ask a question about that then at the end. That all said, I really, really do appreciate all you guys. If you enjoy hanging around with me here on the channel, I really do ask you to hit that like and potentially also that subscribe button, because it would really, really help, appraise the algorithm gods, and maybe, hopefully, YouTube starts pushing this video forward a little bit more. Thank you so much. Let's dive in. Right, so the first question was, and I have it here, I'm not sure if any of you can actually see it, but the first question is, what is that weird accent we hear? I always love you guys for asking me about that. It's very simple. I am very, very Dutch. I was born and raised in the Netherlands. I've spent a lot of my time in different countries. I lived in Finland. I've been, I've been all over Europe. I've seen Iceland. So English has been my primary language for a very long, long time. But yeah, I guess the accent is just something I will never get rid of. And I'm very sorry about that. And I feel terrible about that because I'm very self-conscious about my English. And I love it when you guys ask me about that. Yeah, so that's what it is. Nothing bad, nothing terminal, just Dutch. And yes, it's true, we have wooden shoes. Okay, the next one is a little bit more personal, I think. The question is, when did you feel confident enough to share your work with the world? And I actually really love this question because I wonder if there ever is a moment where any artist feels confident enough to share their work with the world. If I look at my own progress or process in things, there is always this incredible sense of imposter syndrome. With everything that I do, with everything that I write, with everything that I draw, I always feel like, I don't know, I'm not that good really. Like, what are people making a fuss about? It's just my work. There are artists out there who are way, way better than I am. So I wonder if this is a confidence thing, or if this is just something that you end up doing. It's something that can actually really, really hold you back and really prevent you from being discovered, in the very first place. But I think maybe the key, because of that, is to not really think about it that much. Sort of give yourself some reprieve from doubting your own work, because you do that all the time while you're working on it. So actually, take that moment to sort of let go of that and just drop it on the internet. Whatever happens after that. There's not much you can do about it. So I don't think it is a matter of confidence. I think it is a matter of urgency, really. Like, if you want to do something with your art and with your art career, there is only one way to do that, and that is to show people your work. No one has ever made a full-time art career by not showing their work to anyone. So yeah, that confidence, I guess it will grow, hopefully, eventually. But I don't think that is the first thing, that sort of pushes you into posting that first photo, that first thing. I encourage everyone to share their work. That said, I also encourage everyone to use something like Nightshade or what's the other one, Glaze, so that if you do share your stuff on the social network, that they can train their AI machines on your work. Just a little advice from me. I know I do it most of the times, but I also sometimes forget which are the moments that I actually slap myself in the face because, oh well, I just donated one of my works to the machine. But yeah, just a small tip. Moving on. I like this one. I don't know. I don't know who asked this. Feel free to step forward. But the next question is, can you teach us some slang from your hometown? Now, some of you who know me personally know that I'm from The Hague, which is actually the second the political capital of the Netherlands. And it's a city that is very well known for their dialect, which is really harsh and really rough, and they swear a lot. And I also kind of swear a lot off camera. But they have this weird way of talking, and I kind of sort of grew up with that. So sure, I can teach you some slang from my hometown. I do want to, give a little heads up to my American friends here, because it's going to sound like I'm choking on something, but I promise you, I will be fine. I'm totally fine. My favorite Haags, which means, my favorite stuff from The Hague. Here we go. It's been a very long time since I've spoken any of this. How about de beschuitstaartdag met zalf? Which is basically, roughly translated, this is a meatball with mayonnaise. Don't ask, no further questions taken. Je beschuitstaartdag met zalf is all you need to know. Go to a snack bar, whatever. Ask for that, you'll get something, and you won't be hungry afterwards. This is not awkward at all. Okay, next question. I like this. Okay. At what age did you start creating artsy things? I don't remember. I really don't remember. For a very, very long time. That's for sure. I'm thinking... I remember primary school, where my mom would have saved toilet paper rolls and we would build things with those. We would make desk organizers with them, or we would make paper filigree, all that kind of stuff. I grew up in a very creative home. Either my mom was, organizing these sort of creative things at school or at home, or my dad was, doing a lot of do-it-yourself stuff around the house, and we would wear a way too big helmet. That was Dunglish for you, by the way. We would wear these helmets and have these tool belts, and we would just stand there and hand them over screwdrivers or a saw or whatever. And I know that's not necessarily artsy, but I do think that's where this urge to create sort of started. I must have been 4 or 5. When, the moment as a child you become capable of picking things up, and to consciously, to be even aware of what these tools are, what their names are, and to sort of, handle them without hurting yourself. I think that's the moment where the artsy started, because I didn't know any better, or creativity was the way to spend your free time, which is kind of incredible when I look back on this. It's been 36 years since I was born, which is a while ago, and I think at least 30 years of those, I've done creative things. Give or take a few years, when I was in my puberty, because I hated everything back then, which is normal. So there we are. But yeah, I was very young. I was always drawing, was always building, was always creating things, which is what it is. Okay, let's move on. Oh yes, do you do sports? If so, what? I do a lot of sports. I've always been, well, always is a little bit of a weird word choice here. I started doing sports pretty late. Like I think I was, I don't know, 17 or 18 when I actually, chose to start doing sports. And then I rolled into martial arts, and I've done a lot of competitive kickboxing. I've done basic MMA fighting. I was not necessarily a ground fighter. I'm not very good at the grappling part. But there was always some form of martial arts going on. I did Shotokan karate. And then I had a lot of injuries. Actually, I'm forgetting one thing. I also did a little bit of recreational ice hockey when I lived in Finland. Just sort of the community competition, community games. Lots of fun. Also, it's a very rough sport, and I kind of loved it. It was like martial arts on ice, going after the puck. Anyway, so long story short, I got a lot of injuries later on. Had some problems with my back. I had problems with my lungs at a certain point. That was way before COVID, by the way. And after that, when I sort of came back to doing sports in the first place again, I kind of just realized that I didn't really want to be punched in the face anymore. I've reached a point where I literally thought I'm getting too old for this shit. So I still wanted to do martial arts, but I did not feel the urge to do that competitively anymore. So at the moment, I still do kickboxing every Sunday, but the non-full contact, so non-competitive. So it's 1.5 hours of just beasting away at, heavy bags on the pads, all that kind of stuff. Lots of muscle training, lots of, condition, high intensity trainings, all that kind of stuff. Then on Tuesdays, because of that, I go I go to Pilates to sort of stretch those muscles up again. Because, I don't know, it just feels good, and it's good to keep those muscles active. So I do that on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, I go full nerd and I play bowling league, and I have been doing that since I was a kid, basically. I think I was 15 when I started bowling, then left when I was 17 or 18. Did a lot of competitions way back then, and then I didn't play for like 20 years. And then I picked it up again, and now it's just something I do every Wednesday evening, and I'm really enjoying that. But then we're not there yet, because on Friday I swim, and in between, so I still have 3 days of the week left, and 2 out of those 3 days I either walk for anything between 5 and 10 kilometers, or I take the home trainer upstairs and cycle for whatever amount of kilometers. Actually, the funny thing is that I took one of these Conqueror challenges, the one that's related to Lord of the Rings. So I'm basically taking the One Ring into Mordor, cast it into fire. Cast it into the fire! No. Well, that's what he said. Sorry, this went way too fast. So I'm doing a walking challenge. I'm saving up a lot of kilometers while I actually do sports. And the challenge is to do, I think it's about 2,600 kilometers. So I'm on my way. I still got 800 to go for my second challenge. And then after that, we'll see how long it takes. But yeah, I do a lot of sports. And you should too. All right, where did my creativity start? And I wonder if there even is an answer to that question. Or maybe I've already given it. It might very well have started with those toilet paper roll creations, we used to make at home. Yeah. You know what? Maybe I really started getting into drawing, at least in the 90s, where Dragon Ball Z was a really hot thing, and then Pokemon came after. I don't necessarily remember if that was the order in which they launched. I just remember Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z being very, very important when I was a kid, because I used to save up my pocket money to then every Saturday go to a local shop and buy these sort of trading cards, and they had artwork on them, and I would just sit down, grab my sketchbook, and redraw these things. I kind of felt like a printer at a certain point. I had these pictures, and I would just replicate them. But it was practice. I mean, we all kind of start there. Also, I'm not sure what my dog is doing, but she's trying to get all the attention, I think. Hey, what do you? Anyway, let's cut that out. So yeah, I think my creativity, or at least my journey into drawing, very much came with collecting trading cards and then just drawing them. Just get the practice of these little anime figures. Why anime? Because it was a lot easier than creating a real life portrait of something or someone. That I really do feel confident saying that was the beginning of things. That's where it all started. All right, next question. We have a few more left, so stick with me. Ooh, good question. Which movie have you watched the most? That is without a single doubt, and it doesn't even cost me time to think about that. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. I stopped counting after 168 times. There was a time where that movie would just be there in the background. I would be either at school or at home or whatever, and somehow I would find a way to just have that movie running. Oh, my dog's coming back. Hello, girl. Yeah, you can sit down. Perfect. It's so nice and cozy when it's cold outside. So yeah, Lord of the Rings, 168 times. However, and while I'm saying this, there might be a serious contender in the game right now, because last week I went to the new Frankenstein movie by Guillermo del Toro. There's no one who is not Mexican or Spanish that can actually pronounce that name correctly, but you know who I mean. This man is phenomenal, and that movie really, really, really moved me. So let's see if I can get past 170 with that movie. Who knows? I might be obsessed. Just a little bit. Next question. We're almost there, or we're getting there. Can you tell us about your personal learning curve? Not quite sure what exactly this person meant with that. I've gone through a lot of learning curves. I've seen the absolute top of things, and I've seen the absolute bottom of things. And if I draw a line between the two, my curve would really look like something like this. And I think I'm trying to make sense of this while I'm speaking. I think a learning curve is never a direct line. It is never a line going from point A to point B, straight up, straight down, straight anywhere. I think a learning curve is called a curve for a reason, because it'll always move between, highs and lows. And I think the trick, as we get older and we are in this art world longer, I think the trick is to sort of keep those curves sort of steady. Or at the very least, when things go up, they always also will come down, but to sort of prevent the going down from being still as high as possible. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that you should always aim for a curve going upward, and take the downward moments for what they are, learning moments. Because I think that's what it is. Whenever we feel, okay. Chaos. This is the ADHD brain going full speed. But whenever we, pick up a new technique or a new medium, or whenever we do something new, the learning curve is very steep. We start at 0, and within a couple of moments, days, weeks, whatever, that curve goes straight up. We've gone from knowing nothing about it to knowing, some things about it. So the difference between where we came from and where we are at that point is huge, you know. But then as we look into it more, you know, and we start to sort of not specialize in things, but to start to sort of focus on something, we realize that there is so much more still to learn about something. And so that's when you really start to have the feeling of, oh, well, I got here, but I know nothing. I'm not an expert. I'm not even near being an expert. What the hell am I doing? So, and I think that, you know, the curve or that feeling of going down is not necessarily a sign of you, you know, becoming worse at something. It is, I think those moments are when you realize that there is still so much to learn. So yeah, in terms of learning curve, and I'm just, my dog is being a real absolute nightmare right now. So I think these moments when the curve comes down is not a moment where, you know, your skills are getting worse or you're not growing all that much. I think those are the moments when you realize there is still a lot to learn. So when it comes to my personal learning curve, you know, of course there have been times where I really fell on my face, where I really thought I'd done something and it really was not. It was really nothing, you know, or when, yeah, when you really believe that you're the best, you know, and we all have these moments, where these sort of eureka moments where you really feel like you've conquered the world, but actually what you got is just a pencil sketch. You know, we all have these moments, and I think they're fine. What I do think is important after that is that you don't stay in that belief, but you stay curious, and you know, you keep pushing forward. Cool, you know, now you are king of the country of pencil drawings. Great, if that's what you feel like, own that feeling, enjoy that feeling, but then what's next? And I think the people who, you know, endure this industry the longest is the people who always ask themselves, all right, what is next? So yeah, in terms of a curve, I think every time you feel like you're moving towards the lower end on the line, ask yourself what is next, because I promise you, asking yourself that question will automatically push you up again, because that's when you start learning. I hope that answered your question, by the way. I think, yeah, we've reached the last question. What can we expect from you in the future? Chaos. Endless chaos. And art and stories. There are a couple of things that I cannot really talk about specifically yet. There are a couple of things under NDAs, so I mean, that it should tell you enough. It should tell you that there's a couple of big projects cooking, and they'll come whenever I can tell you more about that. You'll be the first to know, I promise. But I've also started a new manuscript for a new story, and that is going to be a very gothic horror sort of, you know, if Frankenstein and the Phantom of the Opera would have a love child, what would that look like? I'm just about to wrap up the first draft of Act 1, which means it's a total freaking mess, and it will still take a lot of time before that story will actually, you know, reach the light of day for you guys. But what I do know, and what I will share about that particular story, is some artwork that I plan to create, you know, for it. And in terms of that, you can expect a lot of anatomical studies, alchemy, you know, gothic jewelry, lots of very high detail, like mishmashes of humans and gory beauty. Is that the word to describe it? So there's that. There is also still the Dutch translation of Bonds of Blood and Silver in the works. Right now we are looking at a release somewhere spring 26. There is a very cool card game, cooking, behind the scenes. It's called Cataclysm, and it features a lot of cats. I will talk about that more later on, because I can fill up an entire episode with work that I'm doing for that. I'm also designing a couple of book covers for some really, really cool and very talented authors here in the Netherlands. There is always stuff cooking. So while all of this is happening, I'm also still making new episodes of The Butcher Shop. I really hope that I can keep this momentum of a full episode every Friday, but you'll also find a lot of short videos every other day of the week. So again, I guess this is your reminder, and this was very smooth YouTube, isn't it? This is your reminder to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss any of that. Anyways, guys, I ran out of questions. I think this was like the top 10 questions you guys have asked me. Again, thank you so much for being part of this community, and for asking me these questions, for being curious enough about what my take on things actually is. So thanks again. Thanks for watching. If you've reached this part of the video, you are an absolute star. You are amazing. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.